Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to the Operation Freedom platform and Operation Freedom Health. Dr. Glidden and I, for over 2 years now, have done this series of what you can do to enhance your health and your wellness. Now, the public has been very positive on our series, but here who has not been positive about that approach? Big pharma, big medicine, big insurance, and big government. And the reason is because it's based on the philosophy of what we present, some might even say preach here. And that is that to wait for something to happen to your health and wellness and then rely on big pharma, big medicine, and big government to help you is a philosophy and approach that is fraught with danger and in many cases failure. And what Dr. Glidden and I have spoken about and have dedicated our lives about, both his work in naturopathic medicine, my work in medicine and in research in particular focusing on prevention, is there are things you can do to prevent many of these health impact issues from a negative standpoint. There are many things you can do to prevent them. So today, what we're going to discuss are the 3 steps to take to enhance your health. Now, our previous videos, our information is available on OperationFreedomHealth.com. The products that we discuss that can be utilized to enhance your health and wellness are on OperationFreedomHealth.com. There's no sense discussing issues of what you can do and not have access to the potential nutrients and minerals that we discuss here. Now, full disclosure, purchase of the products on OperationFreedomHealth.com does support this platform. And in this holiday season, to make things more affordable to the end of November, there's a 10% discount on the homepage if you decide to get those products. Again, the topic of today's presentation are the 3 steps to take that you can take. Not big pharma, not big medicine, not big government, not big insurance, but that you can take to enhance your health. It's my honor to welcome back my friend, Dr. Peter Glidden, who's one of the top naturopathic physicians, not just in this country, but the world. In addition, he is a fantastic author. His books are the foundation of our medical library in our home. I hope you'll do the same because they truly are the foundation to health and wellness. The names of the book, which can be purchased on his website, drglidden.com, also available on Amazon, but drglidden.com is the go-to place for the books and for the extra information that he provides. Everybody is sick, and I know why. An attempt to cure with holistic medicine. It's my honor to welcome back my friend, Dr. Peter Glidden. Peter, welcome back to the Operation Freedom platform.
David, we're chipping away at the rock of human suffering, one episode at a time. Thanks for having me.
Well, Peter, the feedback I get from people is, the information that you and Dr. Glidden provide, I should have been getting for years from not just my doc, but these docs that make millions of dollars on TV, like Gupta and Siegel and these other folks. They always seem to lead me to the point where, well, you're going to get sick, and well, you know what? You can always go. Big pharma's there for you to help you. But Pete, this is a huge problem because it's part of this 3 steps to enhancing your health. The first is identifying the issue and the problem of how people have been misled about who really can make the biggest difference in someone's health and wellness.
Well, there's a saying that for those that know the truth, no explanation is necessary. And for those that do not, no explanation will suffice. And because we've existed inside of a medical monopoly for longer than anybody's been alive, 109 years now in the United States of America, people have been socialized, brought up inside of the monopoly. Mm-hmm. And the monopoly, the medical monopoly, is so huge and so omnipresent that people aren't even aware that it's a monopoly.
True.
It's hiding in plain sight, mm-hmm. which is where the term alternative came from, right? I don't practice alternative medicine.
No.
Right? Saying that what I do is alternative is like saying, well, the only real dog is a German Shepherd and every other dog is an alternative dog, right?
Right.
Right. But that's what people have been socialized to believe.
That's right.
Now, again, like, what you did when you were active in your profession is the wheelhouse mm-hmm. of conventional medicine. Surgery when it's necessary, mm-hmm. trauma care, mm-hmm. emergency medicine. That's great. That's exactly the right dog for the hunt. But for most of the conditions that most people go to the doctor for most of the time, conventional medicine, pharmaceutical centrist medicine, it's the wrong dog for the hunt. It doesn't fix anything. It makes people weaker and sicker over time and bankrupts them, quite frankly. So it's eventually a certain percentage of the population will raise their head out of the sand and start to think, well, what I'm doing right now isn't really working. Mm-hmm. I'm spending hundreds of dollars a month over the course of my life. It's a small fortune in medical insurance premiums. And what have I received for that? Well, I got high blood pressure. I got heart disease. I became asthmatic. I became depressed. I have anxiety and panic attacks while I was under the care of pharmaceutical centrist medicine. All these things happened to me. And then the medicines that they used to treat it didn't even attempt to cure the problem. They just managed it. And so eventually a percentage of the population will start to get a clue and start to think for themselves, wow, man, this isn't working. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is a better way. Now, and honest to God, the only reason that my profession exists in this political climate mm-hmm. is because we get results.
That's right.
More often than not. Yeah. And, the truth has a ring to it. Mm-hmm. It does. The truth has a ring to it. And people aren't stupid. People just haven't been educated as to their options. And so that's why what we do is so, number one, important, and number two, so impactful, because all we're doing is telling the truth, and the truth has a ring to it, and people say, well, geez, that makes sense, and then people apply what we advise, and more often than not, they get a positive response. And so this is the thing. Step number one is realizing the shortcomings of the pharmaceutical method.
That's right.
And understanding that there exists right now, in real time, today, right now, science-based, clinically verified alternatives to pharmaceuticals, which have been developed and delivered by licensed physicians. Mm-hmm. People just aren't even aware of that. And let's be honest, I mean, very few people know how to pronounce naturopathic, let alone know what a naturopathic doctor is or what they can do. People are just clueless about this. Mm-hmm. And it's a big eye-opener for people when they finally understand this. I mean, it's like, I can imagine what it was like when they figured out how to make fire, right, back in the day. Before they knew how to do that, they had to wait for lightning to hit a tree, and then the tree would catch on fire, and they have to, keep those embers alive. One person in the tribe keeping the embers alive, that's their only job. It was a big responsibility. Imagine what that was like when they figured out, we don't need to do that. We can make fire anytime we want. That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. Oh, the earth isn't flat. Well, that's a big deal. Oh, the earth isn't at the center of the solar system. It's the sun. Oh, that's a big deal. These are eye-opening moments, and this is similar to what's happening here, but because what we do makes a difference.
But it's interesting, for example, when people step forward and say, wait, the Earth is not the center of the solar system, of the universe, or whatever, Galileo, for example, people that bring that enlightenment forward are many times beyond demonized, beyond ostracized, beyond criticized, but they are sacrificed because they speak against essentially the powers that be. It's what they did to Galileo.
You know, there was a saying in the naturopathic medical school that I went to was called Bastyr University, and it's named after John Bastyr, who's dead now. God rest his soul. He was a very prominent naturopath in the early 1900s in the United States, especially in the Pacific Northwest. And I had the privilege of being he was still alive when I was going to school, and I went to a couple of classes that he was giving. And he said, half jokingly, but not really, that you're not really a real naturopathic doctor unless you spent time in jail. And it's true, right? Because we are up against the pharmaceutical industry. And thank God for insulin, right?
Right.
And, you know, the general anesthesia, but really, you know, you need it's not the gun, it's how it's used.
Right.
And here's an interesting statistic that I only recently became aware of. In the world, people spend as much money for vitamins and herbs and mineral supplements, alternatives to pharmaceuticals, as they spend on pharmaceuticals.
Which is really surprising.
It's really surprising. It's neck and neck, which is why, and the pharmaceutical industry understands this, which is why they are doing whatever they can do to maintain an iron grip, the lion's share on the medical industry. They'll do whatever they can because it's neck and neck, and they know it's only, you know, it would only take a certain number of more dollars of more people to do what we do to have a tipping point. And I've always said that if by some genie in the bottle magic we woke up tomorrow and there were just as many naturopaths and homeopaths and Ayurvedic practitioners as conventional MDs, and insurance paid for everything equally, and universities did equal amounts of research, if that were to happen, and, you know, hospitals, naturopathic hospitals, within 5 years, medical doctors doing general family practice and, you know, specialized medicine, you know, like the foot doctor, they'd be out of business.
Yes.
Because in a free market, people gravitate towards what works.
That's right.
Which is why they don't want a free market.
That's right.
Well, it all comes down to control and power and money. Step number one, realizing the shortcomings of conventional medicine and the benefits of conventional medicine. And if you're in the shortcoming bracket, then you need to come over into our camp and give it a try. I mean, what have you got to lose, quite frankly?
Right.
Step number two, understanding the fundamental foundation message of holistic medicine. And this isn't just naturopathic medicine. It's all branches of holistic medicine. Chiropractic medicine, homeopathic medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, acupuncture, right? Whatever it is. The fundamental belief is the human body is intelligent. The human body knows how to fix itself. The human body wants to fix itself. The human body's trying to fix itself all the time. And it needs raw materials to do that. I mean, your automobile needs oil and transmission fluid and radiator fluid and power steering fluid and air in the tires, right? Correct. The right type of fuel in the tank. Human body's the same. If the human body runs out of raw materials, things are going to break. So the first step is you give the body everything that it needs. Everything that it needs in recipes that it can actually absorb efficiently. So you're not spending, you know, your kid's inheritance on nutritional supplements that are lousy and ineffective. And not all wine is created equally. It's all made from grapes.
Sure.
Not all nutritional supplements are the same. There's a big difference in the manufacture process and how the raw materials are sourced and the whole enchilada. Number one. No, that's number two. Number three is you got to stop putting diesel fuel in an unleaded engine. You got to stop eating food that's hurting the body. which is another interesting thing to talk about. And this is where my conspiracy theorist starts to move into the foreground, because we've identified 12 foods that you shouldn't even look at, let alone eat, because the consumption of these foods will hurt you over time. And guess what? All of these foods are what most people eat all of the time. And that's not a coincidence.
No, it's not. And the video you did on that, the 12 bad foods, is available, operationfreedomhealth.com, free, top of the homepage, right there.
It's insidious, man. So, we've been listening to people who have no education, no training, no respect, no clinical experience with medical nutrition. We've been letting these people and the people who manufacture the food, Monsanto, tell us what to eat.
Right.
That's a bad idea.
Bad idea.
So people eat all the wrong food all the time, which, like the straws that broke the camel's back, hurt the body, then something breaks. Your body needs this many nutrients. It's only got this many nutrients. Then the stress of life burns through their reserves, and then something breaks.
Right. Folks develop a medical illness.
And then they got to do something. So what do? Well, they go to the only show in town.
Right.
The only show that their medical insurance provides access to. And they get a treatment that doesn't address any of these issues, any of these underlying issues, in which simply manages the problem. So the cause of the blood pressure is never discovered or eliminated. The cause of the arthritis is never discovered or eliminated. The cause of nothing is discovered or eliminated. It's just managed. So the older that you get, the sicker that you get, the more dependent on drugs you get, the less effective the drugs are. So the dose needs to be increased, or a second or a third needs to be added. And the last 10 years of your life is a revolving door to the doctor's office, and money out of your pocket, money out of your pocket, money out of your pocket for more and more and more prescription drugs. It is a perfect business model, because people are brought up inside of a society with the mores and predilections of which make them sick, right? We're eating all the wrong food all the time. We have no idea about medical nutrition. The whole thing is there to make people sick, and then to feed the pharmaceutical industry. It's crazy.
Well, and frankly, Peter, I'm the poster boy for that, right? So I had significant arthritis, right? And I was on a prescription grade anti-inflammatory and a non-prescription anti-inflammatory and Tylenol to keep my symptoms at bay so I could do things. But then my symptoms were escalating. They wanted to add another prescription grade anti-inflammatory. That's when you finally said, Dave, cut the hard head stuff, and why don't you do the nutrition side of this, the medical nutrition side, of which we had the foundation pack, right? Which are the 90 essential nutrients that again, available on operationfreedomhealth.com, which is the basis, the minerals, the 90 essential nutrients. So I start that. It took me a while. I finally got it some years back and started taking it. And as you know, within a week or two, I was off the Tylenol. I was off the over-the-counter anti-inflammatory. I was still taking the pharmaceutical grade anti-inflammatory. I did not have to go to another one. By the end of a month, I was off the pharmaceutical grade anti-inflammatory. And haven't been on it since, right? So last week, I'm at the house, and I ended up doing all the fall cleanup outside. Okay. And I spent about 7 hours out there. And the guy who cuts the grass calls me and says, I drove by your house and I saw you out there with the leaves all by yourself. You're out there for hours. He goes, so Dave, I used to do that for you some years back. And starting several years ago, you started doing it. Because before that, you couldn't do that. What are you taking?
No kidding.
I said, well, let me tell you. And he said, because, you have really bad arthritis. And now you're doing stuff and have been for the past couple years. And I just thought maybe it was a fluke the first couple years, but now it's been like 3 or 4 years since you had me do the fall clear. And I told him. And he looked at me and when I told him, and he said, "Really?
Yeah.
You mean you're not taking like some kind of exotic prescription medicine to?"
An eye opener.
I go, "No,
Yeah.
no." And this is the key. So educate. So what gets shortchanged is the appropriate supplementation with nutrients. Educate our listeners on the foundation, Pete, because they cannot hear this enough. And the reason is because they won't get it from any other source.
Yeah, and this, if they listen to Sanjay Gupta,
No, don't even guess.
forget it.
Forget it.
Right?
Don't get me started on that hack.
So the metaphor of the automobile is an apt one here, because if you take your car in to get tuned up, they don't just put air in the tires.
Right.
And change the wiper blades.
Right.
It's comprehensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a difference between fractionated medical nutrition, which is big doses of vitamin D, big doses of vitamin C, intramuscular injections of vitamin B, whatever. There's a difference between that and giving people a comprehensive, holistic medical nutrition formula, which is what we do, and we're the only ones in the world that do it. Let me say this again. We are the only ones in the world that do it. Certainly the only ones with clinical experience doing it. And this just makes sense because the body doesn't need 3 nutrients. It needs 90 nutrients. And the 90 nutrients are not all present in the food, and they're getting less and less as time goes by. So rather than do expensive blood work to find out what somebody's nutritional status is and then develop and micromanage a program for them, which is what I used to do years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, before I met Dr. Wallach. It's what I used to do. It was expensive. And you'd have to change the program every 3 months, for goodness sake. So instead of doing that, we trust the wisdom of the body. So we give the body everything that it needs, all 90. In recipes, by the way, formulations that are absorbable. Optimally absorbable. Nothing's 100% absorbable, but the calcium supplement that we have, by the way, is over 90% absorbable. Most over-the-counter calcium supplements are 15% absorbable. Which is better, 15% or 90%? Well, I'll go with 90.
Right.
So these distinctions make a difference. But the most important thing is we're getting all 90. Frequently.
That's right.
Like, regularly, every day, every
right.
other day, we're getting this stuff into the body. Based upon the notion that you give the stuff to the body and the body will figure out how to use it. And this notion of overdosing is a ridiculous notion. You can't do it. There's something called the LD50, the lethal dose that kills 50% of the people that take it. There's an LD50 for everything. There's an LD50 for water. Right. The LD50 for all pharmaceuticals, LD50 for vitamins, LD50 for food, LD50 for everything. I figured out the LD50 of Longevity's calcium supplement, the Beyond Osteo FX, which is a godsend to humanity. You'd have to drink 70 bottles a day to hurt yourself.
Right.
A day. 70 bottles in one day.
It ain't going to happen.
Good luck.
Yeah.
So this is the magic. This is the method which makes the magic. Is number one, we give all 90 nutrients in recipes, formulations that are highly absorbable. And that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, and that's called the Foundation Pack. And this is what every man, woman, and child on planet Earth needs to suck into their body every day, the 90 essential nutrients. Because everybody on planet Earth is nutritionally deficient. And by everybody, I mean everybody. You could own 100 acres of the most organic farmland in the world, only eat the stuff that you grew, and you would still be nutritionally deficient. You cannot get these nutrients in the food. You cannot do it. It's impossible to do it. You cannot do it. You must supplement. You must wear jackets when you go outside in cold weather. You must clean the body, bathe the body frequently. You must drink water. You must breathe air. You must take the 90 essential nutrients. And if you don't, it's only a matter of time.
Yep. Tank depletes.
And then something breaks.
And the components of that foundation pack, Pete, educate our listeners on the components.
Yeah, so in the foundation pack, there are 4 things, 4 nutritional supplements, 4 standalones. One is called Beyond Tangy Tangerine. It's a multivitamin, multi-mineral, antioxidant, probiotic powder. The technology, by the way, which went into the formulation of the little crystals in there, because there's hundreds of different things in there.
Right.
And if you're not careful, they're going to clump up. They're going to separate. It's going to be a nightmare trying to get that stuff. You'd have to mix it all together every time you make it, and nobody's going to do that. The crystals that are part of that formulation, it took a lot of research and development to make. It's fantastic just for that. It's number 1. Number 2 is a calcium supplement. It's called Beyond OsteoFX. That's the calcium that's highly absorbable, which is a game changer for human health. Number 3 is a bottle of a clear liquid, plant-derived minerals, which come from a deposit of humic shale in a mine in southern Utah, which was formed from the decomposition of dinosaur-age plants. Dinosaur-age plants, when there were no pesticides, no herbicides, massive amounts of oxygen in the air, massive amounts of minerals in the river and in the soil. The plants all suck this stuff up, then they decompose, and the cellulose and the fibers and the sugars in the plant disappear, but the minerals that the plant sucked up don't disappear.
No.
They maintain in the humic shale, and so we extract them from the humic shale. 100% organic, plant-derived minerals. It's a game changer in human health. And the last thing is fish oil capsules. And the oil was injected into the little gel cap in a nitrogen blanket, so oxygen doesn't get in there and start to oxidize the oil. It's fantastic, really sophisticated, cutting-edge medical nutrition, which will change your life if you give it the opportunity to.
So, Pete, what if someone says, I can't do all that from a financial standpoint? We know the economy is in horrible shape, even though the bought-off lamestream fake media will not tell you. So what if, obviously, the first 2 steps we talked about recognizing the problem, that watching what you eat based on the 12 bad food, free video. And as far as the supplementation, let's say folks say, look, it's just too tight financially to do an entire foundation. Is there one component of that you would say, okay, well, if you can't do the whole thing, do this?
The people in the sales department are going to hate me when I say this. But it's the least expensive. It's the least expensive one. It's the plant-derived minerals. It's $21 a bottle. It's $21. It gives you 60 plus organic plant-derived minerals. It's $21 plus shipping. That one supplement gives you 66%, 2/3 of your body's nutrient needs. And minerals are the hardest nutrient to secure. There's some vitamins in the food. There's some pre and probiotics in your food, especially if you eat fermented foods like kimchi or sauerkraut or yogurt. But you can't get minerals. You can't do it. Plants can't make minerals. Animals can't make minerals. The only way minerals get into the food is if they're in the soil that the food is grown in, and then they're not there. So the minerals are a big deal. And years ago, I knew a guy who worked in it was a factory in upstate New York that made clutches.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Bernie Owens, and Bernie Owens got everybody in the plant that he was working in to take the plant-derived minerals, because just like you and the gardener, everybody in the plant saw Bernie Owens before and after he started the program.
Right.
Before the program, he's hobbling along. He's waiting for Medicare to kick in, waiting to retire. And then a couple months later, he's bouncing around like he's 20 years old again. And people looking at him going, "What the heck, Bernie? What did you do?" And here's what Bernie did. He said, "I'm going to give you a bottle of the plant-derived minerals." Back then, I think it was $18. He would buy cases of the stuff at a time. He said, "I'm going to give it to you for free." He said, "Take it for 1 month. If you like how it makes you feel, you can pay me for it, and I'll get you more." 100% of the people that took him up on the offer paid him for it and got more, because it's 66% of your body's needs. You cannot take that supplement and not experience anything. You can't do it. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. So that would be the one supplement for people to take, the organic plant-derived minerals.
Pete, educate our listeners on your website and how they can get your books.
Okay, so just go to drglidden.com. Easy breezy, lemon squeezy. I've got a ton of information there that will help you understand what to do specifically for your health. Science-based, clinically verified, stepwise procedures for 100 different physical ailments. We talk about all kinds of things all the time on my website that you're not going to have access to anywhere. I talk about the cholesterol and what it really is. I talk about heartburn and what it really is. We talk about how to detox properly, right? Because that's a giant misunderstanding in the world about how to detox, and we can thank Hollywood for that. We've got tons of information. drglidden.com. Check it out. Become a subscriber. You're going to love what you learn and how it makes you feel.
And your books are available as well as drglidden.com.
Yep. And I always have to laugh, Dave, whenever I hear somebody say the name of my first book, because it's really true. Everybody is sick. I mean, look around.
Yeah.
Everybody's sick.
Right. Huh. That's it.
And we know why.
Right.
It's not because you have a bad gene. It's not because you have a voodoo curse. It's because your medical doctor doesn't know this approach, and that's a travesty of biblical proportions. So educate yourself. If you're smart enough, ladies and gentlemen, to pass the driver's license test, you're smart enough to understand, to learn what to do to stimulate your body's ability to fix itself. And I am your steadfast advocate for that. And I'm, God willing, and the creek don't rise, I'm not going anywhere.
And I thank you, Pete, for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. Folks, again, the 12 Bad Foods is also available on on OperationFreedomHealth.com, DaveJanda.com being our home site, OperationFreedomHealth.com. The products we discuss are also available on OperationFreedomHealth.com, and to the end of November, there is a 10% off coupon on OperationFreedomHealth.com. Folks, thank you for joining us today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.